On Jesus' journey to the cross, today's Thursday, the fifth day, and it's time for generosity. Today's scripture reading is from Mark chapter 14, 12 to 26, and the story is very known. Even if you're not a churchgoer or even a Christian, you may know, and you probably do, what happens on Thursday on Jesus' way to the cross, the Last Supper. For our reflection today, I wanted to focus on the announcement that one of the 12 disciples is going to betray Jesus. This is how the story goes. Jesus is eating the Passover dinner with his disciples. This is a celebration dinner. At some point of the dinner, Jesus says to the 12, "One of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." Their reaction was sadness and self-affirmation by saying one after the other, "It is not me, I am sure." But even if you think it will not be you, your mind can't help but try to figure out who is the traitor in the group. At that moment, what happens or begin to happen is that in their minds, they were judging each other and condemning someone that in their minds definitely was the traitor. We all have experienced being in a situation like that. Let me give you a silly example. A couple of days ago, I removed my wedding ring. I placed my wedding ring on a ring holder that my daughter made and gave it to me a couple of years ago. I rarely remove my ring, but because I'm washing my hands so much these days, I decided to take it off. 2 days ago, I looked for my ring, and guess what? It wasn't in my ring holder. I looked around and I couldn't find it. Paula, my oldest daughter, she likes to play with my wedding ring, and she has been doing her online classwork on a table in my room. I asked her, where was my ring? And she said she didn't know it. But because sometimes she's forgetful, I not just judged her, but condemned her. Definitely, she had played with my ring and misplaced it somewhere, obscure place in the house, and I would have to spend hours trying to find my ring. Or even worse, I would not find my ring any longer. Because of my attachment to the ring, I got upset in my mind. How could she do that with my precious wedding ring? But then I looked at the kitchen table, and there was my beautiful wife, looking at me with that evil smirk smile on her face. She had taken my wedding ring to play with me and let me think I had lost it. I know, right? That's bad. But the point is this: without fully knowing the reality of the facts, we tend to make our judgments and condemnations in our minds, and that affects the way that we feel and we act towards others. Back to the story, Jesus says that the betrayal is not the cause for his death, for the Son of Man will go just as it is written about. But the one who do betray him, he continues, it would be better for him if he had not been born. Ouch. But here's the shocking part. At some point of the dinner, Jesus takes the bread and the cup he was drinking and offers the disciples what is called the new covenant. A covenant is a contract, an agreement. This is the language of the Old Testament for the agreement between God and Abraham, in which God will bless, protect, and care for Abraham and his descendants. And Abraham and his descendants promise to respond by being faithful to God and have God as their only God. Here's the problem. In the Bible, while God is always faithful, the people constantly break the covenant. Now catch this. Jesus is offering the covenant to Judas, who will betray him, to Peter, who will deny him, to 11 of his 12 disciples who will go in hiding for fear of being crucified with Jesus, and even to Thomas, who will completely lose his faith over the weekend. To that group, Jesus offers a covenant, fully knowing that the disciples will break that agreement in different ways in less than 24 hours. This is generosity at its best. We call it grace. I know that for some of us, the generosity of Jesus can be irritating. He insists to give it freely to people who don't deserve it. And thank God for that, so I can receive that grace and be part of this covenant with him, even though I'm certain that at times I will not be faithful to him. This grace is at the center of the gospel. This is how Paul says it in Romans chapter 5, verse 8. God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. In the darkest moment of his life, in the most severe personal crisis, Jesus offered generosity and grace to those who betrayed, negated, and abandoned him in just a few hours. A crisis is a great opportunity to learn generosity and grace from Jesus and to practice this generosity and grace. Here are the questions for today. How can you be generous with your siblings? How can you be generous with your parents? How can you be generous with your children? How can you be generous to people that you don't even know or people who have hurt you? God bless you and enjoy your Thursday.